Hello and welcome to the Cold Coffee Club, a podcast brought to you by Houston Moms. We're here to give you a little bit of that mom-to-mom connection, fun, and conversation amidst all the chaos. Join us as we take a break from doing all the things and explore the wide spectrum of this crazy motherhood role. We'll interview fun guests, talk about cool grown-up topics, laugh, share, and grow together. So go ahead, reheat that coffee, and put your feet up. Here we go.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Cold Coffee Club. This is Jenny.
And this is Ashley. Good morning.
Good morning. We're glad to have y'all back with us. Ashley, do you have any tea for us this morning?
I do. I did laundry this week. I washed.
Proud of you.
I washed and dried and folded and put away in one day.
Okay. Well,
listen, this is a Cold Coffee Club exclusive right here.
Okay.
So you know how you like to get yourself a little treat when you do a great job? I might just buy myself a car at this point.
I mean, that's what I was about to say. You've accomplished it. New achievement unlocked.
Yeah, I win.
I don't know what level you've aspired. I don't know. You've done it. You've done it.
That is my tea. I am so unbelievably proud. And you know what? You got to take a win as a win. You got to take your wins. I feel like we need to
just shut down the podcast and we're done. Bye. Bye. We did it. Golly. Okay. Well,
that's crazy. What is your tea?
My tea is that for the next 2 Saturdays, my children both have different places that they need to be. And the start times for their different places is the exact same start time.
Oh.
So like this Saturday, Ellie has a 9 a.m. event and Jack has a 9 a.m. event. And next Saturday, Ellie has a noon event and Jack has a noon event. And I just want to say, like, the thought has occurred to me to make a phone call to like the soccer commission to just be like, can we just move his entire team's time? Please. Please. Like, it's like, why did y'all call each other and get together and be like, we're going to make it really hard for this family?
Yeah.
And one kid's going to have their feelings hurt because I have to like chew, so it's just what it is. But I just that.
The struggle.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
We're going to be okay.
Of course.
Anyway, do you have a cream and sugar for us?
I don't believe I mentioned them before, but if you are a mom who's looking for a job, something that can be very flexible, especially while you're raising your family, I highly recommend checking out hiremymom.com. Okay. It is a Houston local company. It is a site where people can post jobs that are virtual. And especially moms can go find awesome opportunities there. And I've used it over the last couple of years. I've taken on several smaller contract jobs. It has connected me with some incredible people and some incredible opportunities. I highly recommend it. I know a few moms right now who are looking for jobs and they're like, yeah, but I can't really handle like a full-time responsibility, right? Or, I need flexibility. Hire My Mom is the place to go. And, if you're just trying to browse a little bit and see what's out there, they offer a 3-day trial. So you can just look at all the postings. You can put your resume up if you just want to shoot out a couple while you're, during your trial.
That's a great recommendation. And I didn't know that they were Houston local. I've heard of them for years. I just thought that was like a whole nationwide thing, but that's great.
They are nationwide, but they started here and this is where their home office is. Yeah.
H-Town pride.
Yes. hiremymom.com. Please go check it out. It is amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Today's episode of the Cold Coffee Club is brought to us by Next Level Urgent Care. Next Level Urgent Care is the Houston Mom's trusted provider for quick, easy, and affordable care. It's open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., which is perfect for our busy schedules. And you can count on Next Level Urgent Care to give you the peace of mind and medical attention that you and your family truly need. And if you don't have a ton of time to spare, no worries. Next Level Urgent Care allows you to check in through their app. I personally go here. I take my children here, and it is so easy to use the app. You just check in online, and it tells you when it's time to come to the clinic, so you don't have to sit in a waiting room with a bunch of sick people. You can even schedule a telehealth appointment. So download the app now and have the care you need at your fingertips. Houston Moms is truly grateful for our partnership with Next Level Urgent Care and the knowledge and insights it provides to equip our community. All right, back to the show.
So this episode, we are going to dig into our house rules for social media. A lot of us are very serious about like, my kids will never. And then there's some of us who are like, maybe, we'll see. So yeah, we're going to talk about our personal house rules for social media. For starters, we're going to talk about us as moms, how we navigate social media. Jenny, of course, is our social media director for Houston Moms. And so, of course, she has some incredible insights. For me personally, I love social media. I grew up, in the era of MySpace when things were very simple and fun. And we learned about coding and we ranked our friends and it was very intense. And whatever song you picked for your profile was, that was important. Oh, it could be sending all kinds of messages. Like I remember changing one of my MySpace songs to reflect how I felt about my boyfriend at the time. His name is Jackson. Shout out Jackson.
Hey Jackson, what's up? Thanks for listening. We know you're listening, Jackson.
And I had a lot to say and I found the perfect song for it. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But now that I'm a mom, social media it can be kind of tricky. I am big on privacy. And so for me personally, I don't post like my last name on social media just because it's just, it can be a strange world. And I just don't feel like everyone should know that kind of information about me. I ask my children permission most of the time. Like if I'm posting something about them or a silly picture, I'm like, are you okay with this? Especially my oldest, my younger two, they're just like, whatever, I like that I'm, that there's a picture of me. And then one thing that I am like diehard about is avoiding information that is going to tell people where we are at a given moment. I typically don't post things while I'm actually there. I will post it after I've left. That is the type 6 in me. I'm like weary of things and people, and so I don't necessarily post while I'm there. Things like first day of school, I'm very adamant about like, we're not putting what school you're in. We're not putting who your teacher is. And I, no judgment to other moms, but it makes me really like anxious seeing that like, hey, you don't know if I'm crazy and you're posting like what school your kids are at and whose classroom. And I'm like, oh, honey, please stop that. Don't do that. So I try to be really cognizant about kind of protecting my family, but also, I have some incredible followers and people I like to engage with. So I do like to share, and that's fun, but just kind of paying attention to what I'm putting out there. And for me personally, I hope not to have a huge battle about social media with my kids anytime soon. I'm not sure if I'm on board for them being on social media while they're school age. So we will see about that. Yeah. How do you navigate social media for yourself personally?
So, I mean, it's so hard for me because it is a job for me. And so I'm kind of immersed in it all the time, whether I want to be or not. I do feel like I have changed in a lot of ways of how I've used it. Just personally, as as I've gotten older, as my kids have gotten older, it is such a fun form of connection. I use it all the time for, it's fun on one hand, and I use it a lot for connecting with others, for connecting other people with other people. Like, oh, you need to talk to so-and-so, or you're moving to this town, you need to meet my friend, my friend so-and-so lives there and y'all should hang out. I really do like to, if someone needs a job, let me, oh, my friend so-and-so works in that industry. Let me, I think it's a fantastic tool for things like that. And I have to just be really careful about how much I'm in my phone. One thing that I'm really intentional about is, what your kids see, what they don't realize is that when my head is in my phone, my kids don't know what I'm doing when my head is in my phone because they're just seeing me look at a screen. And what they don't realize is that if I'm even making a grocery list on my phone, that's not me being on social media. That's me making a grocery list. But to them, it all looks the same.
Yeah.
So I could be doing a parenting task, or I could be making an appointment. I could be responding to a teacher email. That's part of my job as a mom.
Yeah.
But to them, they are just seeing me with my head down. And so sometimes I'm very intentional about saying out loud what I'm doing. So if I'm doing something that is like a parenting task, if I'm like, oh, I'm responding to so-and-so's mom about the soccer game on Saturday. And so I want them to know I'm not just ignoring you. I'm not just, playing a game. Like my head is down because I am doing a parenting task.
Yeah.
I want them to see that like part of what I'm doing is for them. I'm not just tuning you out, or I'm making a grocery list. I'm planning our meals for this week. It just happens to be on this device.
Right.
I think about how our own mothers, when I was growing up, my mom would get out cookbooks and would plan her meals. We should get things out like that. I don't, now it's all kind of contained into one little thing. So our kids don't see us doing things the way that they did like that. So that's one thing. I think another thing that I really try to be intentional about for my own social media use is I try so hard to not follow accounts that it seems like their entire goal in life is to keep me mad and angry.
Oh, yes.
If there is somebody that it's like, and guess what else? Like, they're like, and here's another thing. And and you will not believe this. And they are there to keep you angry and keep you riled up.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, they get likes and follows and engagement. I know how the algorithm works. And when you share things and tag things and repost and share something to your stories, that creator gets more follows. I have unfollowed and I am not engaging with that because there are other ways to receive information that is not done in a way that is exaggerated or filled with superlatives, meaning to go like the most blah, blah. Everything can be given in a way that is a little bit more bare bones. So I'm going to receive information in a way that isn't so meant to scare me or make me mad or make me hate other people. Or, I have enough feelings. I don't need you to give me more of them.
Right. Social media can be very manipulative in nature. And it's exhausting.
I'm a researcher by nature. And so what happens is someone will throw something at me and I'm like, what?
You're down the rabbit hole.
And then I go down the rabbit hole. I'm like, well, that wasn't even true. Like, that was not even right. And then I feel the need to go inform them and go like, hey, that wasn't, you were lying.
You're doing a little bit.
The other thing too really that I try to think of is I always have in my head what I call a dinner party rule about when I go to post an opinion. If I do, which I very rarely do because I am an Enneagram 9, but if I am, I think about I think about like my Facebook friends or my Instagram followers, and I think about everyone I know that is my friend. So my, people that follow me on Instagram, some of them are from high school. Some of them are my family, my aunts and uncles, my parents. Some of them are from church, my neighbors. Some of them are my, my nieces and nephews and whatever. I think about, would I post what I'm about to post if every single one of those people, would I say these words out loud if every one of those people were sitting in front of me at like my kitchen table? Would I word it like this? If every single one of these people were here in front of me? Or would I maybe edit my words a little based on my audience? Because the fact is, they're all here. They're just behind the screen.
Right.
So if I knew that my neighbor was reading this, would I change how I worded it? If I knew that my niece was here, would I change how I worded it? If I knew that someone from my church was here, would I change how I worded it?
Yeah.
And not that I'm changing my opinion, but am I going to change my delivery?
Yes. Yeah.
And maybe the kindness of it, or the,
Yeah.
I just think that is a way that we can maybe not be so maybe so inflammatory with our opinions and how we're going to deliver them. So that's one of my biggest rules, is that we can say things that we mean, but we don't have to say it maybe as we can be direct, but we don't have to be harsh. That's maybe what I would say.
People, please take note. Please, all the world, take note of what Jenny just said. You can just think about it. Say it a little differently. Think of your delivery, please. I think you've brought up a lot of really good points, because I think, I really wish people took a moment to think about what they're sharing and how they're sharing it. And I really wish people, in a world of, you see a lot of on social media, things just being perfectly curated, and it's just not real. And it's not like, I love authenticity. I love seeing profiles where it's like, this is the real. I'm not gonna, I appreciate when people take a moment to like, okay, I'm not going to be like wild and crazy, but I'm going to let you into my world a little bit and be as honest as I can be in a respectful manner, in a kind manner. And, knowing that you're reaching people, and just like you said, that people, you might have to unfollow things that are just like bringing you down. And I love when people share authenticity, but also like positivity and good vibes. And like, okay, this is fun. I like it here. I like that. I think it's important on social media to protect your sanity. It's really important, and protect the fact that most of us know that everything on social media, unfortunately, is not real. So it's nice to be able to connect with people who are and kind while they're doing it.
I think another thing too, that it's one of my pet peeves, like even in the real world, not just online, but even in the real world, I get really annoyed when someone speaks, and what they're saying, they are making the assumption that everyone in the room agrees with them. So it's like they might say something like, so maybe they're at a restaurant and they're like, well, obviously this is the worst food anyone's ever had, and you're sitting there like, well, I kind of liked it, and you're like sitting there going like, well, now I have the choice to either stand up to you and disagree, or I have to sit here and be quiet and feel uncomfortable that you're making a big scene about how gross this food is when I kind of liked the food. And so when people do that online, when they're talking about religion or politics or whatever, and you're having to, they are making blanket statements as if everyone agrees. And that, it's like, to me, it's like that either means that, number one, you are only speaking to people that agree with you, or number two, you are just assuming that everyone agrees with you, and you're not thinking about like, hey, maybe there's someone in the room that thinks differently, and maybe I need to remember them when I talk, and not be so dismissive of everybody's feelings. So, that's hard for me. But anyways,
well, let's talk about our kids and social media. I know our kids are a little bit younger.
None of our kids are on social yet.
No, they are not. But the time will come where we have to start having conversations, and like, Mom, but everyone's doing it. I'm like, okay, great. So let's dig into kind of the pros and cons to social media, especially for our kids.
I think we can start with the cons, obviously. And, there's a lot of those, which is, it can lead to internet addiction, of course. It starts that young. It can lead to cyberbullying. That's a huge issue. Sexual harassment, low self-esteem when they compare themselves to others. privacy concerns like you were talking about, and, you know, them putting themselves out there when they don't realize that they're putting themselves out there. There's stunting of social skills because they only know how to interact with each other over a little screen. They spend less time doing outdoorsy things and playing and being around other kids and, you know, go run and jump and ride a bike. And they also have a pressure to conform when they see, well, other kids are doing their hair like this and other kids are wearing these clothes. You know, it's like there's just a lot of, I need to be doing what everybody else is doing. But I mean, you can walk through there. Is there a few things that it could maybe help with? There's some pros.
One of the main pros is that you can connect with your friends and relatives who live far away. I think that was the driving force for me being on social media, is like keeping in touch with people. And, you know, we all have friends that we've never met in person, but we follow on social media. And it's like, I've watched little Tommy grow up. Like, never met you, but look at you.
Exactly. Yep.
It can definitely provide some support for mental health issues, being able to reach out to people, and there's a sense of community. Children feel less isolated with online communities. Again, it can encourage self-expression, which I think is, you know, one of the really cool things about social media is like you can just go out there and connect with people who are like-minded and share something fun, and they're going to support you, which I think is invaluable and really awesome. It supports learning about other people and cultures that you wouldn't otherwise be exposed to. Obviously, like that's one really interesting thing about social media is that everyone's on it, and you know, you can connect and build a friendship with someone around the world, and you know, you would never be able to contact those people before and see what they're up to, see how other people live, and then not feeling left out. And I think that is one thing.
And and that's hard, but you also, you know, I had a girlfriend years ago that she was a teacher at her son's school, and she had really held out he was in junior high, and she had held out for a long time on video games that he played no video games at all. And she taught at a pretty conservative private school. And she was like, nope, we're not gonna have any of that in our house. And one day she decided there was some weird circumstance where she ate lunch with her students, and she sat at the table of boys where her son was eating. And she was just like joining in on this conversation with her son and his friends. And every other boy at the table was talking about Fortnite. And she was just listening. And then her son just sat there silently while all these boys were talking about Fortnite. And she said, you know, her son didn't complain. He didn't say a word. But for the first time, she sat and looked at him and thought, it's not like she went home that day and was like, you can play Fortnite now. But she just said it occurred to her that all these other friends are having a shared experience that he does not get to participate in. And she, again, didn't change her mind that day, but she understood that he has to sit there day after day and hear a table of friends talk about, oh, well, you tried this. Oh, that happened. Oh, it was so funny. And and he can't even pretend to contribute. He has no idea what they're even talking about. And so she said it was eye-opening for her. And it did give her a level of, in his world, this is a big deal. In his brain, this was hard for him. And so she just said, I was really glad I got to witness this, that for 30 minutes a group of children were discussing this, and he had to sit there and eat a sandwich and just be like like and she just said like, oh, I'm okay, like it's you know. And she was like, and it was hard as a mom because you do want to do those, well, I don't care if you feel left out, you know. But just to go like, oh yeah, that doesn't feel great. That kind of stinks. Like that everyone's doing this and you're not. Like, okay. Like, okay. So anyways,
that perfectly leads into the next little section we're going to talk about. Is kind of how to find that balance. Like, our kids are eventually going to be exposed to certain things and, you know, be part of social media to an extent. You know, it's kind of up to us to figure out the best balance. And so we're going to kind of dig into how do we navigate, moms on social media, kids on social media? How do we find that common ground?
Yes, because social media is not going anywhere.
It's not.
And I think one thing to remember is that, social media itself is not moral or immoral. It's not good or bad. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think, teaching that digital citizenship early and teaching internet literacy early is smart. And what you don't want is to send your child off to college and go, hey, here's a phone. Like, here's the World Wide Web.
Yeah.
There you go. Like,
have at it.
That's not, you don't want to do that. Like, you want to ease them into some things. Now, I'm not saying that you go, here's 7-year-old, here's the World Wide Web.
Right.
It's got to be a progression. And I think, the other hard thing is that social media is going to change so much in 10 years, what it looks like right now versus what it's going to look like. By the time this episode comes out, TikTok could be banned, so I don't even know.
You never know.
And so you have to teach that etiquette and teach, what that's supposed to look like. So one thing I would suggest is, obviously there are apps where you can set limits for things. There are ways that you can kind of follow your kids. But one thing I would just suggest is that if your kids are on social media, if you have teenagers that have an Instagram, is to follow your children, follow them and follow their friends, but also follow who they follow and have an interest in what they have an interest in. So if your kid loves Harry Styles, if your kid loves, a certain TV show or movie, follow those things and keep an eye on what they're keeping an eye on. So you can kind of see what's trending and see what's in their world. And if there's a new album coming out, you would know about that too. You're going to see, oh, there's a new season of their favorite show coming out. This is going to be in their feed. And you can kind of see what's going on in their world.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And, it kind of starts at home. So like you mentioned, letting your kids know, like, hey, I'm not just on my phone for fun, like I'm responding to something. I think setting limits for ourselves kind of teaches our kids to set limits for themselves as well. We've set rules, no video games or whatever during dinner or things like that. So I think that can kind of translate too, like, okay, we're putting our phones away at this certain point, or, after 7:00, we're all done with social media. It's just setting those little boundaries here and there so that your kids aren't constantly bombarding themselves with social media. So I think that's really important as well.
I do love that. It feels like this generation of kids that are on, like I follow like my nieces that are in high school right now. And I love that this generation is not all about like posting selfies of themselves. Like there's a lot of like, they post a lot about their friends and the pictures are more authentic. Like they're not posting these overly filters and looking perfect is not really their vibe. They want to look more real. And I love that about them. Like, they're not
awesome.
The way we would, our generation would like want to make everything look perfect in the background in my coffee cup, just so, and everything is going to be, aesthetically beautiful. That's not them.
Yeah.
And in fact, like they like make fun of us for that. Like they're like, no one looks like that. Stop doing that. Like, what are you doing with your face? What is that face? Stop. Like they don't, or like the way we pose for group photos, they don't do that. Like where we're all like in a line.
Yeah.
Like, stop with the line. Get out of, why are you standing in a line? So like that is, like they share more about each other than they do about themselves. And I love that about them.
That's awesome.
It's not like an online diary.
Yeah.
For them the way it was for us. And so gives me a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
That now that's not to say they're not still being mean to each other. I'm sure they are, but
they are.
It just, at least as far as like the comparing, like, how perfect everybody is all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
There's hope.
Yes. Yes. So for our house blend this week, we were going to talk about that we have our post up that we do every year, which is bluebonnets. Where to find bluebonnets in the Houston area. If you are not from Houston or from Texas, this is a Texas tradition. I don't know why, but we go walk ourselves out into a field of bluebonnets and we take some pictures.
Mhm.
There's bugs and you gotta look out for snakes. It's a thing. It's the whole thing. There's photographers and they'll come out there and you do a mini session out in the bluebonnets.
Yep.
So bluebonnets are our state flower, but this post has everything. You get not only like 10 spots to go take pictures, but it even gives you like etiquette, like do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
So because you're not supposed to pick them. Don't pick the bluebonnets. You have to sit amongst them.
Breathe it in.
Yes. So Elissa wrote this post. So this is a great one.
Yeah.
So, as we wrap up, do you have a caffeinator for us today, Ashley?
So TikTok CEO Shu Z Chu has revealed that he does not allow his children to use the app, even though he created it.
Interesting.
I thought that was very interesting. Granted, his children are a little bit younger. I believe they're like 6 and 8 or something like that. But it kind of makes you think, like, what is he protecting his children from? And I think as parents, we really need to look at TikTok. I think it can be great. It can be lots of fun, but also you just need to pay attention to what your children are consuming and what is available and, what can be on TikTok. So I thought that was an interesting caffeinator for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining the Cold Coffee Club. Hope our house rules about social media are useful to you, and we'd love to hear from you. So definitely reach out to us if you have anything you'd like to share with us.
All right. Y'all have a great one. Bye. See you next week.
Hang on a sec. Check out these outtakes from this episode of the Cold Coffee Club.
So many edits in this episode. Snip, snap. Snip, snap.
I love it.
Snap,
it's so
snap.
fun. Listen, we had to have a bunch of edits because your ad was so perfect. Like, what am I going to do? Like,
I know. I just made it so smooth as usual. Okay.
Yeah, of course. All right. And I think that perfectly leads into the next little I'm so sleepy today.
You're doing it.
Okay.
You've been listening to the Cold Coffee Club, brought to you by Houston Moms. We wish you a fabulous week with your families and look forward to sharing many more cups of cold coffee with you.